So, Godzilla vs. Kong. Spoiler-free review. Great movie. Way better than Godzilla King of the Monsters. Good 7 out of 10. There wasn't much plot, but how much plot do you need for two monsters fighting each other? Great movie. Super fun to watch. I had a blast. Alright. Now the all the spoilers part. First of all, like, it's like the movie starts off with like showing Kong waking up on his island, chilling out. Like, he's just waking up from a nap. And you end up learning that, like, right away you end up learning that people, like, went to Skull Island and, like put a facility around him somehow. I'm guessing they just, like, knocked him out and, like, they don't really explain much, so I'm assuming they just, like, sedated him somehow and then just started building the whole facility around him, which I think is kind of funny. But, one of the things I'm so grateful for is that the humans' involvement in the movie is just to move the plot forward, which is fantastic, because that's, like, in Godzilla King of the Monsters, like, for some reason the humans were the plot. So it's just like, why do these people even matter? Why are they so involved? In Godzilla vs. Kong, they're barely involved. They just move the plot around. They help Kong discover a bunch of stuff, and they help him fight Godzilla every once in a while. But it's like, they can only do so much to fight against Godzilla to help in a fight. So it's just primarily Godzilla and Kong fighting each other, which is great. It's fantastic. Like, the fights honestly felt like they had little to no impact, and I was trying to figure out why, and I'm guessing it's just because, like, there's no, like, real consequences, like, whichever one loses, it just doesn't really matter because it's between those two. That being said, every fight was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Despite it not feeling like it had any impact, it was still awesome. It was just so cool, man. And we find out, like, that whole hollow earth theory that they keep, like, pushing in the monster movies. They finally go into, like, the hollow earth. Like, they take King Kong there after his first fight with Godzilla, and we discover this literal entire world underneath our own planet. It's dope. And, like, at first I was worried that the movie was gonna be about nothing but exposition. Like, oh, this is why they are against each other, this is why they're always fighting, so we're gonna show their ancestors, or them in general, fighting each other in the past, and then we're just gonna have a couple of fights here and there. No, it was legit. Like, they're from an old world. They're kind of been fighting forever, and now they're fighting. There's no need to show or tell anything else. Super happy with that. I'm so glad, like, all the exposition was just, like, people talking. So happy about that. I just did not want to sit through a movie of, like, let us show you what happened in the past. And it's just like, I don't give a crap what happens in the past. I care about these two giant monsters fighting. So yeah, it was fantastic. They clearly learned from Godzilla King of the Monsters, because, like, this is, like, I'm trying to keep this as little cussy as possible, but I feel like this has to be said. I bitched and moaned like crazy about Godzilla King of the Monsters. I was so unhappy with that movie, and, like, nobody should have seen it. Nobody should have seen that movie at all. And so, like, when I first heard that, oh, Godzilla vs. Kong got delayed, I was like, good, hopefully it gets canceled. Because, like, I had no hope that it was going to be any better. I just didn't believe that they were going to make a better monster movie. after what King of the Monsters was. It was just terrible. Oh, dodged right into that. One thing I really liked, like I thought I wasn't gonna like the developers and whatnot said that, oh, there's gonna be a definite loser in this movie. Like we're not sugarcoating it. One of these monsters is gonna lose. And they weren't messing around when they said they would beat the crap out of each other, because these guys, Jesus Christ, they did not hold back at all. They were throwing each other through buildings. They were just biting and scratching and punching and hitting each other. And Kong gets his axe. And like if you're paying attention to the scenery of the movie in that part, you come to find out they actually made those axes out of the spines of Godzilla's, like Godzilla's species. It was cool. It immediately made sense as to why in the trailers Kong was able to block and use Godzilla's atomic breath against him. Because essentially, when he's shooting that atomic breath, he's basically charging up the spine that is that axe. And the reason why I'm not talking about any of the human beings from the movies, because like I said, they really don't matter. They finally put them where they belong in a movie, and that's just like, we don't matter. We're here to just advance the plot and give any exposition that may be needed, which is little to none. And I'm happy with that. Like, as soon as you see Mechagodzilla, you're just like, oh, well, they're gonna fight him. The big greedy corporation people managed to harvest some of the energy that came from that world, and they use that energy to power Mechagodzilla. And the way they were controlling Mechagodzilla was through one of King Ghidorah's skulls. That part just did not make any sense. Like, in Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla literally vaporizes King Ghidorah to the point where he can no longer regenerate, and he just becomes nothing. So like whenever they say like, oh, this is a King Ghidorah skull and like we're using it to set up some kind of neural link so we can control this mech of ours that also powers it, because there's still power within King Ghidorah's skull. And it's like, okay, this is kind of a lot of silly crap here. So after all that BS, once they get the power supply from the underworld, I don't know what else to call it. So essentially what happens is, because they use this power source that they don't understand and they don't know how to use, they just want to use it as quick as possible, because Kong and Godzilla are fighting right on their doorstep. And so they're just like, alright then, and they power it up. And yeah, they basically bring King Ghidorah back to life through science and bullshit. So King Ghidorah ends up in this Mecha Godzilla thing, and yeah, he becomes sentient. He basically overrides all neural link control, whatever you want to call it, and he just kills. He kills the guy in charge of the company that's in charge of this whole operation. And like every human that died in that movie, it just didn't feel like it was like, oh good, this person died, what a piece of shit. Because they were just like so stereotypical villains. But at the same time, the reason, like, the dude making the Mechagodzilla really had no rhyme or reason to do it. This is where I got extremely happy. Godzilla basically wins the fight. Like, he beats the shit out of King Kong, and then he like, it's just so cool, man. He like dislocates his arm and whatnot, and then he like runs him through a crap load of buildings, and then like as Kong is laying there like, oh, I gotta get back up and fight, Godzilla just like steps on his chest and like grinds his heel into him. Like, it was so cool. And then he just like basically gives him this look like submit or die. And so Kong is just like, all right, you win. And then, you know, Godzilla does his victory shriek, and just he's just like, all right, that's right, bitch, I'm in charge now. So he starts to head out, and then Mecha Godzilla just comes out of this facility, and he's just like, I'm here now, and I'm still King Ghidorah in this crazy mech suit, and I'm gonna go blow up a bunch of shit. So like right out the gate, as soon as he gets out and sees the city, he just like powers up his like laser breath thingy and just starts destroying this fucking city like crazy. And so like, oh yeah, well, here's just an unapologetically evil character. Looks like Godzilla, and like you already know, the second you see Mecha Godzilla going crazy, you're like, oh, looks like they're gonna team up for this one. So yeah, fast forward to the fight. Godzilla starts fighting Mecha Godzilla, and he's just getting fucking trashed. Like Godzilla gets his ass kicked. Like in that quote unquote fight, he barely had any kind of fight. he was getting torn to pieces, man. Mecha Godzilla was faster and stronger and just like had way more resources at his disposal. Like he was just too good. Godzilla couldn't handle him on his own. Because of Kong's fight with Godzilla, like he's actually like on the verge of death. Like this little deaf girl that hangs out with Kong, like listens to his heartbeat through vibrations, I guess, and she could tell that Kong is dying, and so they're just like, well, how are we gonna restart his heart if he's dying of dying? And you know, those ships they took into the center of the earth when they were following Kong down there, like they're powerful enough to keep a Las Vegas lit for a week or some shit. So they basically override the ship or whatever, supercharge it to explode, self-destruct, whatever the hell, and they park it right onto Kong's chest and just blow the shit up. Which pretty much acts like a defibrillator for him, so he wakes up, he's like, holy shit, what happened? Last I saw was getting my ass kicked. Yeah, they just team up on this bitch, and it's just super fucking cool, because despite both of them fighting, this mech is still tearing them to pieces. Like, they're getting thrown around, they're getting punched, they're like, all kinds of crazy shit. It's just so cool. So, like, they both take a friggin' beating. Like, it's a really, like, they both just get the shit pounded out of them. So towards the end, they decide, like, man, how are we gonna beat this fucking guy? He's too much. And then Kong is just like, oh yeah, my axe, let me go get my axe. I dropped it earlier. Kong's about to die, like legit be killed by Mecha Godzilla. So then Godzilla uses his atomic breath and supercharges Kong's axe, which was fucking cool. And then Kong breaks free of Mecha Godzilla's grasp, and he proceeds to just tear him to pieces. Like, literally tear him to pieces. He's like chopping off his arms, he like chops off every single one of his limbs, and then like knocks his fucking head off, rips it off, and then does his victory shriek. Like, it's super cool. So like towards the end of the movie, like Godzilla gets back up, he's like, alright, I'm back. Everybody's like, oh shit, are they gonna fight again? And then like Kong gets up because he's exhausted. He's like, I don't want to fucking do this, man. I don't want to do this, but I will if I have to. And then Godzilla just stands there and watches him, and Kong's like, oh, I get it. And he drops the axe. He drops his weapon. And then Godzilla basically says thanks in his own way, and then he fucks off back to the underwater, wherever he chills. Kong goes back into the underworld, the Hollow Earth, where he's from, basically, where him and Godzilla are from. So essentially, like, I just thought it was super fucking cool to see, like, Kong basically becomes the king of the underworld, and Godzilla is the king of the surface. Like, it's super cool. I'm glad they both survived, but like in the end, it just showed that Godzilla can whoop Kong's ass. Like that's really cool. That's like I was all Team Godzilla, man. I was like, there's no way Kong's gonna win. Yeah, it was great. It was a great movie, entertaining movie. It gave me exactly what I wanted, and I'm happy I watched it. I'd give it a good 7 out of 10. It's a movie about two monsters fighting, just beating the piss out of each other, and that's exactly what you get. You get two monsters beating the crap out of each other, and it's super cool. Huge step up from Godzilla King of the Monsters. Like, that's everything I wanted King of the Monsters to be. Godzilla vs. Kong was. It was cool. And if anybody thinks Godzilla King of the Monsters is a good movie, is a friggin' idiot. And I'm gonna stand by that statement for the rest of my life. I'm invincible.